back. This is my next episode of The More You Know with Glow. This episode, I wanted to focus on a little talked about topic, which is women and the sense of accomplishment we may or may not feel, specifically as it applies to our careers. So recently, I passed my or I repassed my AZ305 certification renewal, and I didn't post anything about it, which is like, I guess, I don't know, kind of a phenomenon in itself. And when you think about the context of post-worthy content and trying to get likes for everything, especially on LinkedIn, and when I thought about why I didn't, I just thought to myself, like, well, what is the point? Would anybody, it's not even like, would anyone care? It's just, I'm not trying to get a job right now. I don't need to prove myself to anyone else. And I don't know, if you really wanted to know about that sort of thing, you could just go to my profile and see whether I'm certified or not. Now, should I be proud of that? Yes. Am I proud of having an AZ305? Absolutely. But specifically, do I feel the need to like shout from the rooftop about my accomplishments? No. Now, why is that? I do feel that in part it is because I was raised and conditioned as female. And I feel like maybe there might be some women resonating with this right now. And maybe it's because as women, when we have an accomplishment, we don't even have this automatic sense that, yes, this is something that is an accomplishment. I need to take a second and be proud of myself or reward myself or something like that. It's something that is absolutely we have to learn because we are conditioned to think communally. And that is the main difference I see between schools of thought between men and women. I think that contextually, in a career context, everything is driven by who is the best. Who is the best at this? Who is the loudest at doing this? Who is the most driven? Who can run the marathon? Who can do this thing the fastest, the best, the brightest? And every single context, especially now in the way the job market is like, how do you stand out? These might be more or less obvious things, but when you talk about the numbers here, and again, my background is I'm an engineering manager. I've been working in the IT industry for 11 years now, and there's not many women here. It is a specialized field, but it's not so specialized that we couldn't have equal men and women. So why aren't there more? What is the tie-in with the sense of accomplishment? When we think about tech, we think about these like very fast-paced environments. We think about, the big names in tech, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these guys that have made their money like thinking fast and talking fast and building things fast. And that's really what the culture has been built around. But women, we don't think about ourselves first. It's like it might be a novel concept to some people, but it's not that novel to many women to think like, well, how am I impacting the community? How am I impacting my workforce, this meeting, this, like, my manager, my coworkers? And in the tech space, there's like barely room for thought about that. It's always like, how do we make the technology better? How do we make the customer base more happy? How do we get more money out of this product. And so that's why I feel like the tech industry has alienated a lot of women just by nature. It's not because women aren't technical or because we're not suited to this type of work. It's because we haven't changed our ways of thinking. And despite the decade or more of focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, we still have failed to get to the root of what makes diverse conversations, especially in tech spaces. So I guess for the women watching this, if it doesn't feel natural to you to toot your own horn and talk about your accomplishments, I think that's absolutely fine. I think you do have to learn that muscle a little bit, but I also think that like in the words of Marlon Brando, like, why are we like this? Why do we have to be the best? Why do Americans, think that being the best at anything is the way that anything has to be? Why can't we all, everyone is unique and special in their own circumstance. Everyone can bring something to the table. But I think if you naturally don't have a sense of like, hey, I think that, this was a thing that I did, that it was good. Make sure you're acknowledging that, taking a moment to acknowledge that for yourself. If not for anyone else, if not for LinkedIn or your friends or whoever, just, do it for yourself. Because I do think that regardless of the way the job market is, the way the tech industry is, there is something to be said that if you feel confident in your ability and you're able to communicate your ability, you can get ahead. And I think, if not, again, shouting your accomplishments from the rooftop, if that's not your deal, because it isn't mine, that's absolutely fine. As long as when you get in that room and you get in that interview or you're on that team, do not shy away from asserting yourself. In this battle of, skills and trying to get to the top, I think it's okay to be someone who finds a different way. While everyone's scrambling, maybe build a ladder for someone else, maybe build a device that raises everyone up at the same time, instead of just raising yourself up, because that's, I think, how women feel and what women have been trained to do. We raise everyone up at the same time. So I think another thing that employers and allies and coworkers can do is to make a better practice of highlighting women's accomplishments. There's a reason that we have a whole month of March dedicated to women and women's awareness and women's history, is because of our history and because our accomplishments have been so diminished or forgotten. Even though women literally created Wi-Fi technology and a lot of the things that we enjoy as home commodities, as technology, we tend to diminish them. And women we don't really help ourselves. We're not shouting things from the rooftops. If we get written into a history book, that's great. If someone else shares our accomplishment, that's great. But we're not great at tooting our own horns, or whatever you want to call it. So I think just reflecting on that, from, if you're a woman, reflect on it, how you can acknowledge yourself and feel good about acknowledging your accomplishments and sharing them in a good light. And I think for allies, for men, for hiring managers, just realizing that by the lack of voices out there, it does create a void, by the lack of female voices. And you may unconsciously not be recognizing the women in your company. It is a conscious effort to look and see, where are the voids? Why is there a void here? How can I fill this gap? How can I help women fill this gap or how can I educate myself to understand why there's a gap in the first place? That's the whole cornerstone of diversity, equity, inclusion. Um, like, education. Some call it, free labor. But we have this whole internet out here, so anybody at any point can take it upon themselves to educate themselves. But um, my purpose in making this content is not just to educate allies, but it's mostly just to empower women. Like, to let them know, to let you know, if you're watching this, that it's okay to not feel like you're doing the best or shining the brightest. If you're making any effort to better yourself, if you're in tech and if you're trying to get hired, if you've been trying, like, great job. Like, honestly, I hope that you stay with it. And if you need any tips or if you need any help, please feel free to reach out at any point. I love having chats with women um, of any kind, and just collaborating to see, what content I can make, what things I can talk about, what things I can do to help people succeed. So that's really my goal. And on that note, thank you so much for watching again. And yeah, I hope to see you next time.